Justice is justified!
The people are occupied!
More than 1,200 people packed the Guido Theater here in Dearborn. They were asked when they left to be vocal on their social channels about their pro-Palestinian positions. A packed house outraged over the bombings in Gaza by the Israelis, but the Hamas attack on Israel, which has now called up an unprecedented number of Israeli soldiers, not viewed as an act of terror.
We are not going to be intimidated by staying silent when they say Hamas is a terrorist organization. The fact it is not a terrorist organization. And we have to say to them, the terrorist is Benjamin Netanyahu and his government.
The president and Michigan's governor and those elected leaders who have made it clear they stand with Israel and they believe Israel has a right to defend itself roundly booed.
Our governor, Gretchen Whitmer. Our Lieutenant Governor, Garland Gilchrist. Our Senator, what's that? Peters. Gary Peters.
There must be a de-escalation of the current violence. The United States should...
Terrorists have cut off babies' heads and burned children alive. Do you support Israel's rights to defend themselves against this brutality?
We're just going to go through here.
You can't comment about Hamas terrorists chopping off babies' heads? Congresswoman, do you have a comment on Hamas terrorists chopping off babies' heads? You have nothing to say about Hamas terrorists chopping off babies' heads? Do you condone what Hamas has done, chopping off babies' heads, burning children alive, raping women in the street? You have no comment about children's heads being chopped off? Congressman, why do you have the Palestinian flag outside your office if you do not condone what Hamas terrorists have done to Israel?
Should your colleague Rashida Tlaib still have the Palestinian flag outside of her office?
I don't know what she's Palestinian. You know, that doesn't mean she's a terrorist. It doesn't mean that she condones this. Rashida, I fly a Danish flag at my house. Does it mean what?
Have you been supportive of her comments?
I disagree with some of her comments. She lamented the death on both sides, and I think she condemned. I don't have her statement right in front of me, but she condemned terrorist activity.
Now, as to the question of whether Iran knew about this attack in advance or helped plan or direct this attack, we do not, as of the moment I'm standing here at the podium, have confirmation of that.
You just laid out all of the ways that Iran is complicit in this and facilitated it over years of support for Hamas. Is that reason enough to refreeze the $6 billion that the U.S. helped unlock for them to get in exchange for the prisoners?
We have not yet had a dollar of that $6 billion spent, and I will leave it at that.
Yes, maybe that specific dollar with that serial note, the serial number, or that euro with that serial number on it, can't be used to fund terrorism. But the fact of the matter is, and you guys know this, is that it allows, or it frees up money that Iran has already inside its own country to use for other things, so they don't have to spend that money on non-sanctioned items.
Let me say two things about that. One, the reason I read this exact quote is I have heard a fair bit of criticism about this money, including from the person who said this in November of 2018. And I thought it was fair to point out that this money was first allowed to accrue into these accounts under the Trump administration, and that's a point. You did then as well. You did, and there are a number of people who have had a lot to say about this the last few days who have conveniently forgot that fact, which is why I thought it was important to remind the world. The second thing I will say is that Iran has, of course, always funded terrorism. They have always funded malign activities in the region, and that's why we have always taken action to hold them account. But this money can only be used for humanitarian purposes. Not a cent of it has been spent at this point, and we have the ability to freeze it at any time.
That is not the criticism that you're getting. The criticism you're getting is that this frees up money inside Iran that they can use for malign purposes, as you said.
And there is just no evidence that that is accurate.
And we put out a statement a little while ago, and these people are going crazy. They won't report it properly. Shall I read you the statement? Donald J. Trump is calling for, now listen, you got to listen to this one because this is pretty heavy stuff, and it's common sense, and we have to do it. Remember the poll numbers, 25%, 51%. Remember the poll numbers. Okay, so remember this. So listen. Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on. We have no choice. We have no choice. We have no choice. According to Pew Research, among others, there is a great hatred toward Americans by large segments of the Muslim population. Most recently, a poll from Center for Security Policy released data showing 25% of those polled agreed that violence against Americans, these are people that are here, by the way, people here, 25, not 1%. By the way, 1% would be unacceptable. 1% is unacceptable. 25% of those polled agreed that violence against Americans here in the United States is justified as part, think of that, as part of the global jihad